Derek Brown. Not to be too negative, but overpaying during this offseason would be a disaster. Centers on bad contracts: Karl Anthony Towns, Domantas Sabonis, Jokic Poeltl, Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, etc. So Derek is actually talking about. I'm gonna have to pull up my Twitter account again. I didn't know we're gonna get into this, but there was a report today, I believe from Front Office Sports. I want to get that right before. Yeah, it was Front Office Sports. So with Cade Cunningham missing time, this could potentially open the door for Jalen Duren to make an All NBA team, making him eligible for a contract worth $288.8 million over a 5-year period. So, what Front Office Sports is citing basically is if the Detroit Pistons want to maximize Jalen Duren, meaning giving him a max contract, and he makes an All NBA team, he would be eligible for a $288 million contract, and the AAV on that would be $57 million. Now, I know, Derek, we have talked on Twitter about the type of deal that we would be comfortable with giving Duren. I think $50 million for Jalen Duren. I'm not saying that. I want to just kind of phrase this. I'm not pocket watching, but I think paying Jalen Duren $50 million is a lot. It really is. Not saying that, like, if, over the next couple of years, he's not worth it, right? But I think where I would be comfortable with Jalen Duren is around 35. And I think my cutoff for it, I think I told you, Derek, is like 39. Now he might command more this summer. It really depends on what happens with the awards. Like, does he win most improved? He's been kind of leading a lot of most improved. Um, if you track like the awards with media members and even some sports books, I know on FanDuel, I think he right now is kind of leading that with most improved odds. There's also kind of like all NBA. Like, if he makes an all NBA team, that price probably goes up. Him making an all-star team, the price went up there. So it really depends on how these negotiations go with Trajan Langdon and the Pistons front office. But I think paying him $288 million if he does make all NBA, that kind of closes your window in terms of, like, you have Cade on a max contract, maxing out Duren. You really wouldn't have that much cap space to, like, kind of like fill out your bench. And then you also have to consider, like, okay, Stu would be extension eligible, Asar would be extension eligible, and then the following year you also have Ron Holland. I do think Jalen Duren will be a member of the Detroit Pistons. I don't think it's going to be a max contract. I think he will get paid, but I don't think it's going to be $57 million paid. I think he could get anywhere from 35 to like 40-ish. It just really depends how the negotiations work. But I will say, this new front office, the way that they have been able to kind of finagle contracts, the way that they have been able to kind of be very creative with deals, like Duncan Robinson's deal. This kind of comes to mind. I doubt they do this with Durham, but like being able to get Duncan on a 3-year contract and only having this season as a fully guaranteed contract, like his contract next year is partially guaranteed, and I think it's like 2 million. Like the front office, whoever does the cap sheet work does a very good job. I'm not really sure who does the cap space sheets for the Pistons, but I would like to assume that they have a pretty good understanding of like what the ballpark will be for Jalen Duren. I think some Pistons fans is saying like max them because you don't want to lose them, but I don't know too many teams that are going to throw Jalen Duren a max. I really don't. Like, Utah worried me because they do have cap space, but since they traded for Jaren Jackson Jr., that kind of eliminates them from the equation. That was the one team where like you would kind of worry about it. But like they have Jaren Jackson Jr. and Laurie Markin on their book, so they're probably not going to max out Duren. But I think Duren will get paid. I just don't think it's going to be 5 years, $288 million. I just don't see that happening. I don't really think that it's going to be an issue where we have to worry too much about it, Derek.